Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you find yourself at the moment. It's it's been a while we were able to engage around topics regarding AI, and it's a pleasure to get back on for us to learn, for us to delve into some rather interesting topics on artificial intelligence. Today's lesson is going to be focused on prompt engineering. Prompt engineering. So, our objective will be to at least define what prompts is prompt engineering, then get into the three major aspects of prompting, and to get to know what makes a prompt a great prompt, the various types of prompts, and all the other things that are under prompts. So, let's begin now. Okay, so what is a prompt? A prompt can be termed as the writings or the instructions that we put into an AI model with an expectation of an output. That is a prompt in its simplest form. Then we go again. What is prompt engineering? So, prompt engineering, we can understand it from this angle. Prompt engineering can be understood to be the processes that come together for a user of an AI to task the AI to think and to process according to what the user wants and perform certain calculations according to a pattern and the data that the AI model has learned from and give the user the output the user wants. So, what are some examples of prompt engineering we can look out there for? So, we should be mindful when we say to prompts, there are certain things that come into play to make a prompt very quality. For instance, you can't say write a prompt, write a post for me as a good prompt in an AI model. Rather, you are supposed to input this prompt. Write a catchy Instagram caption for my new thrift shop in Accra. That is an amazing prompt because it adds two things that make up a prompt, which is an adverb and a certain specific deliverable. An adverb and a certain specific deliverable. We'll look at that even in the various slides. Let's get into the three major things that make a prompt or that makes prompting very quality. So to begin with, first off, understanding the AI model you are using is a first pillar to take into consideration in prompting because you need to know who you are speaking to in order to give the person the kind of instruction that will deliver the output you are expecting. That is why it's important that we understand the AI model on the first point. A second point for a pillar for prompting is crafting effective prompts. So this is how well you package the tasks or instructions properly so that the AI model can handle your prompts. Then we have the experimentation and optimization as the third pillar for a good prompting. So this is where you don't just settle for just the first answer that comes. but you go through the work to try again to test and make necessary alterations to perfect the kind of output you want from your AI model. So that is why we go through experimentation and optimizing to improve the final output that the AI model gave you. Is that well understood? Okay, now let's go into our next slide to see what we have there. Okay, so now we are going to look at the two main parts of every great prompt you are going to find out there, or you are going to even practically have an understanding of and begin to prompt in the various AI models like the chat GPTs, like Claude AI, like Gemini, and many other AI models. So first off, the first main part of every great prompt is the core component. So say it with me, the core components. Why the core components? The core components is what gives specificity or that gives direction to your prompts. We'll get into it. Secondly, the second main part of a great prompt we are supposed to look at is the optional components. So these are other necessary additions that we add to an effective prompt to make it even more effective, but it's not necessarily compulsory. So for instance, when you take a car, you have an engine that runs the car for it to move as the core component. Then you have other components that also make the car to also feel good, which are the AC and the car rims. But if the AC and the car rim is off, it necessarily doesn't stop the car from functioning or getting into motion. You can roll the glasses to receive air if the AC is not working. So those are optional components of a prompt. Let's get into the next slide and find out more into prompts. So the core components on this topic must have versus extras. The core components here shows that is a must in your prompt. If you forget this core component of your prompt, then your AI is just going to give you any kind of generic response or output, which might not be something you may have wanted in the first place. So it's something to take note of. For the extras, we have the optional components. So we can say that these are add-ons or these are extra features that make your prompts effective, even more effective to say. And they are not compulsory like we have established. So we use them more like in food where we say we add some spices and some pepper to your dish. It kind of adds more flavor to the output that you are looking out for. So that is the benefit of the optional components of a prompt. Let's get into the next slide and find out more about the core components. So we are focusing on the core components now, and we are looking here at the sub elements that make a core component of a prompt really essential. So first off, we'll begin with the instruction. What is the instruction? The instruction is the specific goal or the action that your AI proceeds to take in order to achieve a directed goal or output. Why is an instruction important? So the instruction is important because it sets the primary direction for how your AI model is going to work. So it gives it direction and it gives it a focus. So you should know that if your core component doesn't have a good instruction or task, it means that no instruction, no focus. And here's the formula we are supposed to look at when putting together our instruction. An instruction is made up of an action plus a specific desired output. An action plus a specific desired output. So for example, we can look at this prompt example. Write a 5-day meal plan for a student on a budget. So we see that in this instruction, write is the action verb there, and a 5 meal plan for a student on a budget is the specific desired output that makes up the instruction and the core components. Let's get into the next. Okay, second and the core component is where we focus on the context or the background. This is very, very key. So the context of your prompt is where you give background of a situation or a circumstance you are dealing with in order to help your AI understand the struggle you are bringing to it. And why is it necessary to have context and background even in your prompts? It is important because it helps the AI give you a targeted answer instead of just releasing to you a generic or robotic response. Think of it like you are speaking to your friend about another friend who is going through an issue, and you don't begin with the whole story or the background of circumstance that happened, and you expect this other friend you are speaking to give an advice or a counsel regarding the situation. It will be very difficult for such a friend to do that unless the person has heard and understood the context and background behind the situation. That is same with the AI models. So it's important that we take into consideration the context and the background. So what's the structure of a context or a background formula for an AI model? The formula is given into brackets situation, I need tax into brackets because reason. So let's look at this example. Say I have a small fashion business in Accra that I started 8 months ago. We deliver mostly on weekends to corporate women. So that is more like the situation and the background behind this person's business. Now, he says, I need a social media strategy. A social media strategy is the tax. He says, to expand my reach because I want more consistent sales. So that is the reason. Expanding reach for more consistent sales. So you see that with a context formula, this formula, when you put it together and use for any kind of prompts, your AI model goes ahead to give you a very quality response and output, not just any generic output. Let's end on the third aspect of a core component, which is the format or the structure of your output. So this is where you tell AI exactly how you want it to present the final output to you. It can either present it in a tabular format, as a graph, as a list, as a WhatsApp message. So, for example, you can write a prompt, say, create a client acquisition plan for my graphic design side hustle. I want you to scale, I want to scale to 20 clients in 3 months. Format it as a daily action plan with templates for WhatsApp and Instagram. So you see that it gave the AI model the formatting style for the output. It says it wants it to be formatted as a daily action plan with templates that is suitable for WhatsApp and for Instagram. So that is it with the formats and the structure of output when it comes to the third aspect under a core component for prompts. So this is where we are going to be ending on the lesson on prompt engineering. I entreat you to look through the examples and practice and share your feedback on how you were able to gradually understand it even as you also practice and tried it on your own. So catch you later. Have a good day.